Hey everyone, welcome back to the Business Simple podcast. It's your host, James. On Wednesday this week, we did a marketing talk in conjunction with David Mouse at Alt Business, and we actually recorded the entire thing on a couple of cameras. So what we've decided to do after watching it back is publish that talk as a podcast episode. We think there's some stuff in there that you'll all find extremely valuable. It's very practical rather than theoretical like most of our podcast episodes are. We've also published it with timestamps down in the description. So if there's anything in particular you want to learn about, you can actually just view those and skip straight to it. For best viewing experience, you should watch it on YouTube or pull up the video on Spotify, just because they do point to some visual prompts at points. But if you can't do that, it's no biggie. You'll still get a heap of value out of it just listening to it. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you on the next podcast episode. So, a quick intro. So first of all, who I am. I first learned about selling online in 2013. We managed to convince one of my mates' mums to sew patches on cheap t-shirts from JJ's, and we started selling them through Facebook. And then 10 years ago, I began my careers in sales, knocking on doors. I was selling electricity primarily for Nova Energy because I couldn't get a real sales job at that time, and that was what I wanted to do. Through the experience I got there, I managed to wrangle myself into two opportunities. Path one was to become a real estate agent. Path two was to start selling radio advertising. As I was saying to Ant before, I don't really like property very much, which is kind of wound up a little bit backwards because I'd say half of our work is related to property now. So it sort of came for me rather than the other way around. But I wound up going down the route of selling radio advertising. I learned a lot about customer service there, a lot about marketing campaigns that don't produce any tangible results. So with radio, who in this room's done radio? I know you've done a lot of it over the years. Yeah, with my old man. Yeah. So it's like, radio is awesome because when you go to the pub on a Friday, everyone's heard your radio ad, and everyone, like we do a bit on George FM at the moment. There's definitely some opportunities there. It's a very brand awareness platform. Everyone hears it. No one calls you off your radio ad, so you have no way to measure how well what you're doing is actually working. So when I was at MediWorks selling radio advertising, they released a digital product, sold my first digital marketing campaign to Mexicali Fresh in 2016, was able to bring them back a whole bunch of stats and information on what people had actually done with the ads that we'd run. Fell in love with it. Left radio, went to go sell digital marketing for another agency here in Christchurch. Learnt social media while I was there. The digital marketing landscape in 2017 was a very different place. Believe it or not, there was a period of time when we started out where people didn't believe in selling things on Facebook. Like t-shirts maybe, but they didn't, the concept of selling a property or, like anything sizable in any way, shape or form was just not a thing at all. It was a place for giveaways, it was a place to build followers, it was all those things, but it wasn't really a business tool at that time. I fell out with the agency in 2018. I left. I didn't know what I was going to do. Had a conversation with a good friend of mine. Some of the people in this room know him, Michael Carabassis, and he convinced me to go out on my own, and I incorporated Digital Simple in 2018. Real generic stereotype story. Got a loan for a laptop, a logo and a website, enough money and food and rent for 6 weeks, and then I got into it. Through our attitude, or my attitude towards marketing, we're able to double our revenue every year for our first 4 years of existing. So we went from $80K to $1.2 million in turnover over the first 4 years when we were incorporated. We started working in new build property in 2020. One of our clients, and this was actually the second property client that we started working with, has done over $700 million in attributed sales to our advertising since then. And that was we weren't the only ones or the first ones to do it, but we were a part of quite a pivotal time there where a lot of attention was being shifted from blue books and things like that across to digital media when it came to property. And we were able to genuinely, I know this sounds ridiculous now, but we were able to build a system where every time we spent $1,000 on Facebook ads, we would sell a house. That was as simple as we made it. And so then we scaled their budget up to $400,000 a month. It broke at about $100,000. We got we got to about 100 grand in spend. We're doing about 100 sales a month. Once we pushed past then, it all broke, and then the market collapsed post-COVID, and it just got messy from there. But regardless, it was probably one of the funnest 24-month periods of my life, just catching up with these people every month and then doing more sales month on month on month and continuing to scale it up. We grew our team up to 24 people at the biggest, struggled against all the normal stuff, client churn, staff churn, wrong hires, and then we went inwards, reflected on who we were, who we wanted our business to be, and the position we wanted us to hold in the market, learnt what an advertising product would need to look like so clients can't stop using it, and here we are today. Current business is 19 staff. We do about $200,000 a month in recurring management fees. We have low staff and client churn. We have a smooth sales process, a good CRM, and things are really calm, and we're able to now build and grow. So we've gone through all these frantic periods, some where we've had good patches, some that haven't been so good. But what we've really figured out, and I think a lot of the stuff that I'll talk about today is more about the product that we've really focused on and how we run our advertising in a way that people make money off what we do for them, so they want to keep doing it. Like it's not complicated. And also, so why I'm here now doing this, being completely transparent, is most of these events run with a very simple model. We give, or the person speaking will give enough information that you're all intrigued, provide very little actual value, and then hope 2 or 3 people are intrigued enough to inquire. Those inquiries turn into new customers. It'll leave the rest of you feeling like today wasn't a complete waste of time because you ticked your learning box for the week, but you won't really be any better for it. What I want to do is just be completely transparent with anyone. Anyone can ask me any question. Anything that you would like throughout this. I'm going to try to be forwards with what I kind of talk about, and the aim of hopefully helping to prompt you guys, even if there are no questions, to think about things a little bit differently. But I'm not here to withhold IP. I'm not here to do anything like that. We just want to tell you how this all works. The goal with that is you'll realize how challenging it is to actually do it properly. And that is more the inspiration to wanting to work with us, rather than feeling like we've got some sort of secret or something like that. If you ideally, by the time you leave this, if you want to go and do it yourself, you should have enough information to be able to do that. That's also a part of the objective of this. So what I'll do to start is I'm going to run you through how I view marketing. I think marketing is sales, but in a one-to-many format. So the way that you sell your product when you sit with someone and you're opposite them should be the same way that you market your product. It's just to a wider range of people. The sooner you realize it's an extension of your sales process, call it pre-sales, the better. A lot of the time we will have people heavily leveraged on one or the other. So they'll have exceptional sales, they'll be good at making work just happen, but their marketing will be poor, or they'll have great marketing but not a very good sales process. Both of those two things independently don't work anywhere near as well as both of them merged together. You market for your customers, not to them. There's no system in the world that can beat people into buying from you. We have to take them from not knowing you exist to wanting to work with you, ideally without them even realizing it, before that sales process starts. Digital has huge opportunities still, bigger than you can possibly comprehend. That the idea that Facebook is going like this now is not correct. It's maturing. The audience there is getting older. With the audience there getting older, the audience there is getting richer, which is a really important part of that platform maturing. Things like the property sales and stuff like that, the older that audience gets, the better it's going to be for facilitating those larger transactions. Marketing without a focus on brand awareness is like cereal without milk. It still kind of does the job, but it could be a lot more pleasant. Brand will build over time and will take a lot of the weight away from your sales-based marketing. And so if we can start to tick that brand box, and I'll explain a little bit later how you can do that while still getting leads, it's going to pay off longer term. And having technical skills will only take you so far. The secret, I didn't fix that spelling, the secret sauce is human psychology. So we'll start with some marketing theory stuff. If marketing is sales one-to-many, your first step is to think deeply about why people buy from you. If you have competition, why do you get chosen? When you aren't chosen, why do your prospects choose a competitor? Who buys from you and who doesn't buy from you? we know at Digital Simple that we have very clearly defined customer archetypes. I don't know, and I've thought very deeply about this. I'm not 100% certain as to why, but we have two kind of key segments, if you will. One is a 50-year-old plus CEO. Usually they're either like a minority shareholder or they aren't the only director of the business, and it's a big team. So we're talking probably 50 staff plus. Think like large, like tree tech businesses like that are one of our key kind of demographics. The second one is that's very male skewed. The second one is male and female. It's younger and it's more entrepreneurial based. So then you've got like the directors and people like that. A lot of our property clients sit in that category. Younger developers, people like that. For some reason, marketing managers that work for companies we just don't work with. There's a few other things that are actually really good sources of revenue for other agencies that don't fit us. So for that, we know who we're marketing to when we're trying to market. We know the archetypes, we know the platforms based on the ages of the people we're talking to, all of those sorts of things. Once you understand that, you then need to think about where the people buy from you, where they consume content. So we know Facebook and LinkedIn are really big platforms for us because of those archetypes, with the secondary being Instagram for the more younger entrepreneur kind of category. What is a potential customer of yours doing when they're looking for your product or service? It's a lot easier to buy from someone who's actively in market than someone who isn't, or it's a lot easier to get someone to buy from you who's actively in market than someone who isn't. So the question would be, are people Google searching? You guys are probably a really good product of that, like Sell My As's home. I know you've done a little bit of that stuff too. Like if someone's on Google searching for something like that, there's a pretty reasonable chance that that person is going to be, it's going to be valuable to get in front of that person at that time. And then finally, what are you selling them? Your offer. So actually, I'm just going to go back just for one little thing. So the first time we did this, or the first time round we did this, I asked, and I've trimmed out a whole bunch of the talking to people and getting them to suggest what their situation would be and working collaboratively on it, because I really want to get to that live demonstration piece. I think the way to view this sort of step of the process is this kind of becomes your foundation. So you should start to understand who's buying from you, why they're buying from you, and what sets you apart, which is really important if you're going to begin building out a lot of the things that I'll touch on in the next steps. When you get through to things like your offer, the biggest thing to try to understand is just this concept of, if I was allowed to give your product or service away for free, how many customers could I give you today? Even though they aren't paying, how many people could I set you up to be working with today? When you then start thinking about your offer, the challenge you've got to make for yourself is, how do you make your offer so compelling that it feels better than free? So how do you remove risk for people? How do you stack value in a way that people really feel like they are there? The old radio saying we used to have was, it was about giving away vacuum cleaners, right? And this is where this free thing comes from. So if you needed to sell 10 vacuum cleaners today, but you didn't care about the price, we could give 10 away. Could we sell 10 at 90% off? Probably. Could we sell 10 at 80% off? Probably. When we slide all the way up to 15% off, you're going to struggle to move the 10. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to stack the perception of value that surrounds your product with the cost, whether it be time, money, whatever it is that people have to do to buy it, in a way where people feel like the value's weighted in their favour rather than in your favour. A good offer makes your product or service feel better than free. The key is to remove all barriers with a good offer and also call on your customer's pain point. One thing that Digital Simple did early in the time that we were, as we were sort of starting to grow, it was second and third year, was we created our no profit, no fees offer. We got a shitload of leads, some really good ones, some or a fair few that weren't so sharp. But what we were essentially trying to do was, we knew that the space that we operated in, it was wrought with people being over-promised and then under-delivered on when it came to agencies. That's still a real thing in our industry. And so the purpose behind this no profit, no fees offer was just to take a little bit of a stand against that in the market and try to differentiate ourselves, doing something that was bold enough that it would really make us stand out. If we were if you aren't happy, we'll give you 10% of your money back. It's not going to have the same impact. So we needed to do something that really stood out, and that was kind of the motivation behind it. I don't know if anyone's willing to put their hand up, but it would be fun to go through the process of trying to build out what an offer might be like for somebody. There's a million different ways that you can skin it. Obviously, we went down a guarantee route. You can do buy X, get Y sort of style things. So you might have seen that e-commerce stores are quite common for it, where you buy a t-shirt and you get a hat or whatever it is. Like there's a whole bunch of ways that you can skin that. There's discounts, there's all sorts of things. I'll put it over to you guys. I don't know if anyone wants to go through it.
Anyone brave? Alex?
Well, sometimes in a tough market that we're in the design and build space, other competitors are doing free floor plans.
Yeah.
So we match that.
Yeah.
But I'm confident in my sales strategy that our floor plan's going to absolutely blow the competitors out of the park, because I probably spend 10 times the amount on it. Mm-hmm. So when I present it, that's almost like a buildable concept.
Yeah.
And at that point, I never lose the client. So I know it's going to work.
Yeah. So the offer is matching it?
Yeah, like that's sort of, if the client sort of speaks up and goes, oh, other people are offering this, I'm pivoting the conversation straight away, going, yeah, that's something we offer. We also offer appliance packages, and I'll present them as like a recommended retail price.
Yeah.
But I buy them for 70% off.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm making them think that we're giving them heaps of value to then try and get the lead and sign them up and get them down the funnel.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm cheating a little bit because I know a little bit about this space, but something that I just suggested to someone the other day that I thought was a really interesting way of positioning that, because with the design and build there is that, like the floor plans or the design concept or whatever it is phase, and I know a lot of people are sort of 3,000 or 5,000 or whatever it is, and it's kind of more of a forcing someone to financially opt in thing than it really is anything else. That's at least the way that I've kind of read it. Something that I'd put to someone was, rather than offering free floor plans, I suggested a 200% money back guarantee. So put their floor plans at 10 grand or something like that. Make it so that they're priced in a way that they're like deemed as being premium, but if someone doesn't like the floor plans you present them, you give them double their money back as like a really bolshy way to stand out in the market. You'd obviously have to filter inquiries properly, but that's kind of more of what I'm thinking with this offer thing, is like, how can you do something really different? It is harder in property in general. I know there's a lot of people that sit in that market in this room, because the no-brainer stuff is like, here's your $5,000 travel voucher when you buy a house from us, or here's your spa pool, or whatever it is. Like, a lot of that stuff's been done before. You also in design and build have the problem where people can take your floor plans and then just go get them priced by every builder in Canterbury, which is pretty raw at the moment as well. So it's maybe more something along the lines of trying to figure out how you can get people committed to the, it could even be you get a 200% discount off the build if you progress afterwards, or you could do something like that tries to hold people through the...
It's definitely food for thought, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, I just think the worst thing you can possibly do with an offer is have one that's the same as everyone else's. That's like that's the complete. You may as well just not have one. You'd probably be better off. Having nothing. But you're sort of forced to obviously price match in an environment like this as well, and meet people. Yeah, cool, great. Unless anyone else wants to jump into it, I'm actually going a bit faster than I did last time, so we'll have time, I think, if we keep going at this rate.
Liam, you're pretty quiet back there.
I'm behaving.
Cool, we'll keep rolling through it. The second one that I want to go over is your message. So once you have that offer or your positioning statement or whatever it might be that you've decided defines how you separate yourself out from the market, you need to be bold and consistent. I always suggest when people are creating a point of difference in the market that they pick a hill and they're sort of willing to die on it. It has to be something that you're really passionate about, and ideally it's something that is contrary to what everyone else is doing, just to help you, zig while others zag, and to help you really stand out. If your messaging sounds like everyone else's, you've done it wrong. no rubbish. So in radio editors saying no free on-site car parking and not open 7 days, because we would go and sit with people and be like, what's your point of difference? And they'd be like, we're open 7 days. And we'd be like, that is everyone's bare minimum expectation. Like there's no, if you're open 6 days, that's a problem. Or free on-site car parking. It's like, what are you talking about? We live in Christchurch. Like, it's not a point of difference. It's not a point of difference. So it needs to be something that genuinely stands out in comparison with what is currently there. It doesn't have to be, I know I used like the discount example before with Alex, it doesn't have to be something like that. It could be that, it could be being the good guys and or whatever it is, but you just need to find a way to position that people will lap it up. And then your message has to be what your customer wants, not what you want. It has to be based around the feedback you get from your current active customers, the feedback you get around the people that you don't win and why you didn't win those deals. It is just, it's just that. It's just that. I try to stay clear of generic stuff too, just like all stuff that's not really that meaningful. I think people love like a real, big corporate kind of styled positioning tagline, like bold, capable, but like people don't feel those words. They feel statements, they feel sentences, they feel things like that. Once again, we have a little bit of a break check in here if anyone wants to kind of talk about positioning at all. Maybe? Okay, that's all good. We're redoing ours at the moment. There we go, that's what we can go to. I will pull it up. Where have I got this? I've got it on my notes. So, what we are planning on moving ours to, I just know this because we're redoing our branding, is we are going to, I need to try to find this now. It's warm.
I'll try and turn it down. And just while you're finding that, James, these are protein bliss balls. They are, I don't know the exact macros, but they're relatively low calorie, high protein. They are gluten-free, dairy-free, I think. Pretty sure. Right? Validate that?
Can't validate
that. Okay. They are delicious. I can validate that. Just trying to.
I can't find it, but the general gist of what we're trying to get across with Digital Simple is our new positioning from our brand is going to be human, high touch, like bold. We want to do things differently to the rest of the market, and so we're probably going to put some sort of positioning statement around not using AI within our business, which is deliberately very contrary to what everyone else in the market is doing, and I have a boat in the race when it comes to the AI marketing space that's a separate business outside of Digital Simple, and so where we're going to position ourselves is not using AI to showcase, like, we have people in Christchurch that run your ads for you, we are high touch, we do everything manually, and we think that appeals to our sort of customer, if that makes sense. So just starting to think about the way people typically do things. A good example for would be everyone tends to do that, like same day offer, cash unconditional, like all of those sorts of things. Run an offer like, we won't price your house within a week, and be like, in order to understand what your house is truly worth, we have to go away and do research, we have to know, like something like that just is deliberately contrary.
We don't do townhouses. I don't think he does do townhouses, but that's not what we're into.
Yep.
We do restorations, like villas, and that's what we did with Areas of View.
Yep.
So we tried to kind of tug at the heartstrings of, like, we're not going to demo your family home, basically, and we're going to restore it, make it fresh for the next family. There's nothing wrong with townhouses, like there's a place for them, obviously, but that's not what we're doing. And it kind of worked quite well. Like we didn't get much abuse on our ads on Facebook, which was really nice.
It's amazing in property.
There were a few. At the start, we tried some ads that were a bit off-piece, targeting kind of like older people going into homes. They didn't quite hit the market very well. But the other ones, especially for us, like I did a few video ads and stuff like that. Because a lot of the ads is people faceless. Like it's just a kind of pretty generic looking ad. They're saying they offer stuff. So we did some videos. You can see we're actual people. Walk through our projects that we're doing. They kind of hit the mark pretty well. A bit more relatable. Sort of a bit awkward doing the video ads, but
I'll show you one that'll make you feel better about yourself later in this presentation. I actually I put one of my old ones from way back and just to try to encourage everyone to do some video stuff. But it is like there is an angle in human that's coming through in a big way at the moment that people are sleeping on. And I know you're AI and that's your jam. There's huge leverage in AI. There's also huge leverage in no AI. There's it's speed and all that kind of stuff. Humans are going to crave human interaction more and more and more as we go further away from it. And then that heartstring stuff, people, some people will care about that. Other people will be like, what are you paying me a square meter? I don't give a fuck what you do with it as soon as I move out of here. So you just and I think the best thing with good messaging is if you don't alienate some of the market, you probably haven't been bold enough. Like if some people don't see your messaging and go, that is the opposite of what I want, you're probably too safe with it. I hope someone sees mine and goes, I would never work with an agency that doesn't use AI. I hope it, because there'll be 3 or 4 people who'd be like, yeah, actually, my current agency I'm working with, now they just send me this ChatGPT copy, it's shit, they still use the dashes in it, blah, blah, blah. You'll win more than you'll lose if you position correctly with stuff like that. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll be able to have it all in market by sorry, I've got microphones and shit everywhere. Hopefully we'll be able to have it all in the market by like other side of Christmas. And I think it'll be fun just to spend a good 12 months trying to build that and see what the response to it is like. So I don't know if I'm messing this up. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Sweet. Okay. I might move it to here. It'll be better. Sorry. Cool. The digital leverage. So going back to your video thing, I suppose is probably a good one. And the leverage currently that sits there with the ability to use digital marketing to promote your business is something that is unlike anything that we've had from a marketing perspective before this point in time. The targeting on it is like ridiculous. Who here knows what a lookalike audience is? Yeah. So for those of you that don't, a lookalike audience is, you could give me a list of 200 of your customers. I can load them into Facebook or Meta, so it'll be Facebook and Instagram, and I can ask Meta to find me online clones of people that you've worked with in the past, that you don't have to guess your targeting, you don't have to do anything like that. It will work the trends out across those people, where they live, what ages they are, websites they visit, all of that sort of thing, and we'll build out essentially online clones of your existing customers. Retargeting, so as people are hitting your websites, then being able to run ads to them, and you can do that based on different pages they've seen, even just generic like audience targeting. When I was in radio, if someone was like, I want to target 25 to 55-year-old household shopper, we were like, we're pretty sure that's More FM. That was the best you got for targeting. That was as close as it got. Now you can be like, I want to talk to 22-year-old males that live in this 4 square meter radius. But you can be so narrow with this stuff, and just the ability to control targeting like that is crazy. The other thing, and I mentioned this last week, and everyone was like, whoa, is you can test an absurd amount of creatives, copy, and audiences at once. So we had a campaign that went live. I'm trying to remember the number. I think it was 220 individual ads.
Was it 248?
Yeah, maybe. It was crazy. Like all launched at once for this campaign. So what we did was it's for an e-commerce client. We built out, I think it was 44 different ad variations with a couple of different forms of copy, and then about 5 ad sets. And so it built into this massive thing. And then we created a rule where every time an ad got 5,000 impressions and it didn't have a return on ad spend that was our goal, the ad would automatically turn off, and then we just publish it and leave it. So then the campaign, you just go and check each day, and it's turned off 5 campaigns, and the other ones that are 5 ads, the ones that are there are growing and how well they're working. And like you just can't test that amount of creatives and copy and audiences and things like that anywhere else. The data and feedback you get is unparalleled, and the core time required with the correct setup to get a campaign live is probably about 15 minutes. Hopefully I'll show you that soon. And then you also have low minimum daily budgets. So you can run campaigns on most platforms from about $5 a day with like reasonable, you'll get something. It's a little light. You probably want to be closer to 15, ideally 30, but you can start at about 5. LinkedIn is a minimum of 15. LinkedIn is also a really cool cool platform if you can get it right.
Just for the lookalike audiences, what do you need to upload? Is it just name, or is it?
You need a name, email, phone number. So what it does is it matches the phone numbers and email addresses to the Facebook account. So all of you that opted in for like two-factor authentication, we've got you. Like that's how they attach them to the pages. So any customer list you've got with mobile phones and email addresses. Email addresses don't tend to match very well. It's usually mobile phones that work a lot better. But yeah, that's all you need. Cool. All right, I need to pause this. So I had a way more embarrassing video last week, which it was just, yeah. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but what I'm going to talk about is video. No one likes being on camera. No one. Pardon? You'd be closest, yeah. You get used to it, right? Like you do enough reps. But like the first time someone sticks a camera in your face, it's pretty fucking awful. Grace goes through it a lot with our clients. But usually by the time you get through the first shoot and then you see the video that's produced, you're like, that actually wasn't that bad and that video's okay. And then you do it a couple more times and it gets better and better as time goes on. I'll play a bit of this just so you guys can laugh at me maybe a little bit. It's not as bad as the one I did last week, but I feel like it's more topical because it was a little bit more professional. I'd had a couple of reps by then. But the biggest thing that I'm trying to get across is if you're not doing video, and I don't mean like publishing generic videos or faceless videos or anything like that, but if you are not doing videos yourself, you're probably missing the biggest opportunity as far as digital marketing goes right now. And it's only going to get worse as AI becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger part of marketing. The people who have strong personal brands, the people who are individually known for what they do, will be the ones that will separate out from everyone else. And all you've got to do is have the balls to talk in front of a camera. That's it. It's not like outside of that, it's not that hard. That is essentially it. I've posted like hundreds of videos. I would honestly tell you, I would say 95% of the videos that I've ever put up have performed what I would define as like pretty average or shit. It's just the 5% that don't that make it worth it, and the overall training and repetition and stuff that you get is good. So anyway. Hey everyone, James Wallace here from Digital Simple. Today I'm going to be talking about building trust with your audience through social media. Building trust, I think, is probably one of the most underestimated things that you can do online, specifically because a lot of people really trust the platforms that you can put content out on for free or at a very low cost. Facebook itself, I know, is where a lot of people get their news from, and Instagram. That's probably enough. But if I'm willing to sit here and play a video from 4 years ago of me considerably more baby-faced, the one I played last week was terrible. I talked for like a minute and I made everyone sit and watch the whole thing. I said nothing the whole time. It was just waffle. I don't even know what I was thinking. But it's not that bad. Once you get your head around, it's not that bad. And you're gonna, no matter how good you are on camera, you're gonna look back at the old ones and be like, they sucked. So yeah, anyway, start shooting videos. Even if you just grab your phone and you go like this. My guys gave me what was it? I have to hold it higher, apparently, when I do. Yeah, I hold it too close to my face. But anyway, start putting them out. That's the biggest thing I have to say about that. Something else that I just want to touch on quickly, and this is getting a little bit more technical, but for the people who are actively running marketing at the moment, but they aren't ticking their brand box, I just want to explain a concept to you really quickly. So I mentioned brand earlier in this. No matter how small your budget is, I believe you need to carve a portion out of it to push your brand and not ask for the sale. So if your budget is small, this might be like 20% or 10% of what you're doing. And then the concept is you use the remaining amount of your budget to generate ROI and in theory offset the cost of the branding work. So you don't get a return on investment from the brand stuff you're doing right now, but the return on investment from the other 80% is high enough that you don't miss the 20%. After sort of 6 to 12 months, the brand work will start to generate leads itself separately. And it's a really weird taking a few of our customers through this process that we've worked with for sort of the last 2 or 3 years, it's a really weird like moment when the penny kind of drops. I was in with the housing company. This was probably 6 months ago, and maybe even closer to a year. It probably would have been closer to a year. And overarchingly, new build property was pretty challenged at the time. Like sales were really down, and they weren't. And there was this sort of like, we're not 100% sure why everywhere we go all the time people are talking about how they're not selling stuff, but our sales have just stayed stagnant this whole way through what was a downturn. And we were talking about where some of the sales were coming from, and they were like, our office landline rings and people walk in here with no appointment booked, and things like that are happening, and we just don't know why this is happening now. And basically all we'd done is sort of a year prior to that is we'd just been like, we need you guys to start producing a video every 3 months, plus we were shooting a lot of content for them, and then we were just throwing 20% of their ad spend towards video view campaigns, and we just did that in perpetuity. And we still do the same thing right now. What you have currently on social media is an ability to buy a video through play, so say 15-second consumption of a piece of video that you put out for about 1 cent to 2 cents. And so when you think about that at like on a scale level, if you're spending $1,000 a month on that, that's a lot of video through plays that you get every month. Then if you start playing like pro level, you can then take all of those video through plays, you can put them into an audience, and then you run your sales messaging to those people. So you actually start to build out a funnel off the back of the brand work that you're doing, where you're taking people that are subconsciously opting in to your messaging by going, oh, that looks interesting, I'll watch this. And then all of a sudden it's like, buy it. And so they don't know what's happening to them while it's going on, but it gives them gives you real leverage in terms of building brand whilst not having to fund it, which was really what people had to do in the past with like radio and things like that. Is you just had to run it for 3 months, get no return, and then just hope it would start doing something. And if it didn't, there was no, it's like do another 3 months or lose all the investment you've made so far. There was no ability to leverage it or anything like that. Your end goal is to fully flip it. So let's say you start with 10% brand, 90% call to action. Your end goal is get to 90% brand, 10% call to action. So this is your McDonald's, your Coca-Cola, your people like that. McDonald's, outside of releasing like a special burger twice a year, it's all brand. Coke, you go on the draw to win a Ford Ranger or whatever. Outside of that, it's all brand. So they've got very little call to actions in what they do now. I sort of referenced this a little bit before, but you then can start to going a little bit more to the pro level, start to run what we would define as like marketing funnels. So you might have a top of funnel, which is your brand work, which is video content, a middle of funnel, which is your first kind of sales messaging, and then your bottom of funnel would become remarketing. And I'm going to show you an example of a real funnel, just so that I can explain it a little bit more thoroughly. So this is for a new build property client of ours. What we do is top of funnel, we run brand awareness video views. We have really broad targeting, so 22 plus Christchurch. That's the only parameter that we go is you have to be over 22. On Meta, the call to action just drives people straight to the website homepage. A website homepage for any other type of ad is probably the worst destination you can send like an engager on an ad, because it's like asking them to get lost in your website and never inquire with you. For a top of funnel, this is perfect. We're trying to tell people about the brand. We're trying to get them to engage with us. And if they want to learn more about the business, we want them to learn more about the business. The reason we're not scared about not losing that inquiry on the first touch point is our middle of funnel is then when we try to really get the conversion. So there we're going Google search, so anyone searches turnkey, house and land package, anything like that, they're seeing ads from this company. We then run a lead generation campaign to all video views. We set up an interest-based audience of people engaging with real estate related websites. We made a lookalike audience of existing customers, and we drove all of those people through to a designated landing page related to the actual ad they saw. So if it was properties in Arbor Green, for example, they would then have a landing page with all of their house and land packages on Arbor Green, no other content outside of stuff that is related to what they've clicked on from the ad, and that's call to actions everywhere. That's like, you won't get lost, you will inquire. We then remarket all of their website traffic with bottom of funnel advertising. And our plan with that is to solve objections. So that's, here's how financing a turnkey property works. Here's a testimonial from someone who's bought from us that was really happy. Here's our track record of all the homes we've built. Here's our, like, just different things to build trust, because you're just trying to get people to take that final step and commit at that point. They've already engaged with you twice, so you have permission to really go for the jugular at that point. With a bottom of funnel campaign like that, we then switch people across to lead forms. Does everyone know what a lead form is, rather than a landing page? So you might have seen them before. It's when you click on the ad and the form opens up in-app rather than taking you off. Really good way to get shit quality leads. If you just run a one-step funnel and you just push people through to a lead form, really good way to capture people who are really engaged. But like bottom of funnel, you're almost just trying to steal their phone number. That's the way to think about it. Is like, I know you're keen because you've looked at my website, you've watched my videos, you've clicked on my ad. I just need your information so I can help you. So a lead form becomes really good there because it's 3 clicks and they're logged in your information as a lead. Then final thing to touch on when it comes to the advertising stuff is optimize. So this is our new thing that we've really learned this year. It's become hugely important to the way that we run our ads. Is you have to manually optimize your ads each week. Turn off underperforming ads, ad sets and campaigns. If performance is good, go for great. If it's great, go for exceptional, and keep going until you have the best ad ever created. You can't, we have companies right now where we've got 32 times return on ad spend for like someone selling cakes online. We have to try to go for 40. You can't, there's no point leaving it there, because the longer you leave it, the worse the performance is going to become over time. It will slowly drop down, and then by the time it's slipped too far, it's too late. So you just have to keep pushing, keep trying different stuff. Even if it's different audiences, different copy, it's really easy to make optimizations in minutes. It doesn't need to take, you don't need to build a new campaign each week. And if you've got something that's working well, I would suggest you don't. Just keep trying different stuff, add more ads, try different things, see what you can do. Once you have this on lock, you really need to challenge yourself. How could my offer be better? What do the people that don't buy from me need to become my customers? What audiences aren't I reaching with my current messaging? How do I scale to the moon? What products can I add to increase my customer lifetime value? The list goes on. So once you have your foundation sorted, there's a lot of things that you can do. I love what can I sell my existing customers, or what can I sell people when they're purchasing upsell stuff. With the guys around at Agentary, we've just built out a real estate marketing product. So they have a really strong base of people they do video and photo work for. We now have the ability to run the marketing for you as well. So you have a one-stop solution for that. How do we now add in signs or whatever else it is, or a sold campaign once the client, build things on, because you can pull more out of your existing customers too. Great, we got time. Does anyone have any questions before I do this? Yep.
So when you run, you mentioned you run 200 campaigns, 200 different creatives.
That's a bit of a rare example, but yep.
Say you're running 20.
Yep.
How do you stop it optimizing for something? Say you're optimizing, and it's all the leads, all the traffic's basically going to this one ad because it got a few leads off that one.
Yeah.
How do you try and give it an even trial, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
Facebook makes that jump to go, let's go all in on that.
Well, I suppose there's a sort of a couple of ways to answer the question. What we did with that campaign in particular was we had everything split into 5 ad sets, and then we controlled budget at ad set level. So that meant that each ad set had to spend X amount per day, rather than having it as a campaign and then having campaign budget optimization on, which is what you run into there. The other one is that rules thing I spoke about can work really well, because if you know, hey, I want a $15 cost per lead or whatever it is, if you create a rule where every ad after it's had 5,000 impressions that doesn't have a $15 cost per lead automatically turns off. If your ad isn't performing, then it will turn off, and if it's achieving what you want it to, then you either change your rule, or it gives you more way to do it. I will sometimes manually turn off ads that are performing pretty well to force budget through other ads within an ad set, because you need enough impressions everywhere to get a feel for what's actually working. And you are right, Meta loves to just pick 1 or 2 ads out of 10, push 90% of your budget through those, and never really give the others a chance to do it. So yeah, you can be fun and techie with it, or you can just be turn it off. And if it's a little bit risky if it's doing what you want it to do. But how do you know the others wouldn't be better? It's a hard one. So you can just look at it case by case. That switch is always there, and you can just turn it off. Yeah.
You can turn it off and then back on and then
Yeah.
back off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can mess with your cost per result a little bit if you do it too much. Yeah. So you do have to be cautious of it. Like if you can't afford to lose the ad performance, it's probably not the right time to turn it off. But if you've got a few or like a couple of campaigns and the other two are going good or whatever, you have a little bit more freedom to be creative with it. And yeah, once it's off, you can just switch it back on. We'll go in we today. We had a cost per lead jump up for a client, and we're like, we don't know why this is happening. We put a new campaign live, it didn't perform at all. We just went back to their winter promotion campaign, just turned the ads back on, because we just know the cost per lead's really solid there, and the messaging's questionably topical because it's pretty warm right now, but it was a bit neutral. You can just switch it back on at any point in time, just to like plug a gap while we find another campaign that works well, and then you turn it back off again. So all that data just sits in there. Yeah, cool. Right, what I'm going to do now, provided this goes the way that I'd like for it to, is this. Yep, it's showing. This is like real basic ABC, but I know a lot of people won't actually know how this works. This is an interesting one as well. We're really big on, I don't know if it's actually not going back right to the start. We've spent about 150 grand on ads ourselves, which is probably a big thing that's different. And so a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about right now isn't just money that I've spent on behalf of customers. I think that's an important part of this overarchingly. But what I'll do is I'm actually just going to go step by step through what you do when you set up a campaign, just so that you can kind of see how it works. For some of you that have done this before, I'm going to go through this at like a very basic level. If you have more complicated questions, feel free to ask them. I'm guessing there'll be some people in here who know how all this stuff works. But basically, this is just a Facebook ad account. So this is ours, obviously, because I can't show a client one. This is our ad account. Press this big green button that says create here. You then get given a range of different things that you can choose from: awareness, traffic, engagement, leads, app promotion, and sales. Generally speaking, top of funnel, you're probably going to be dealing with awareness. Once you get to middle of funnel and bottom of funnel, you're probably talking leads. Traffic, we would very rarely use, a lot less than you'd think. Only really as like an addition to a brand awareness campaign where we need engagements on a landing page to retarget the landing page traffic would we actually use a traffic campaign. Engagement's pretty good for like your video views as an option within there. It's not letting me show that, but you can see video views, post engagement, and the, like call campaigns and stuff like that. Even messenger campaigns we find are pretty useless. Under leads, you've got your website and instant forms, messenger, conversions and calls. A lot of those are sort of the same thing packaged up with different words. You're going to pretty much just use instant forms and website for this. App promotion, I don't think I've ever run an app promotion campaign before. And then sales is conversions. So this is more like your e-commerce. So if you're selling a physical product online, I'm not sure how your real growth thing works. You're probably leads, I'm guessing. But if not, you would be in a sales one if you had an ability for people to like automatically
so can you
check
do
out.
the 3 tiers of your funnel that way, or is that for mainly as a top tier?
I would run different campaigns. I would run different campaigns.
The first one, top one, and then set another
Yeah.
one. So start again.
Yeah.
Do the middle one, and then start again. Do the bottom.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Through the same.
Yeah, so 3 separate campaigns.
Yeah.
So we use like TOF, MOF, and BOF as like our little tag for it. And so you'd go top of funnel and you'd do something like probably awareness or engagement. And then you'd go video views from here. You'd create a campaign based off that. You'd then come in, you'd start another one. You may use traffic in this case, but you're probably using leads and then a website conversion. So this conversion one here. And then you'd go on, you create a bottom of funnel. You do another leads campaign, but this time you'd use instant forms. I'll show you guys instant forms just because it's amazing how easy they are to set up. I do have some landing page examples, so I can kind of show how that works too.
Is it true that Facebook kind of punishes you for taking people off platform?
It doesn't like it, but Yeah, it doesn't like it. But there's sort of, the challenge is you get a way better quality of lead. Like if you send someone to a landing page lead versus a lead form lead, excluding a really comprehensive marketing funnel and it just being the bottom step is like night and day. And so even though you're going to be docked a little bit when it comes to your cost per impression, I think it's probably worth it. Yeah, I think it's probably worth it. Anything that says Advantage Plus or AI that Meta puts anywhere, turn it off, delete it, ignore it. Their stuff is awful. It's awful. This is not advice that is relevant forever, but for today, don't do it. So you're not going to play with any of this stuff. Your auction type is, your buying type is always going to be auction. Your campaign objective is leads in this case. You can run a campaign budget or an ad set budget. So that's what I was talking before about. If you've got a few different audiences that you're targeting, you can essentially say to Meta, I'm willing to spend $25 a day on this campaign, and you can do whatever you want with that $25 to try get me the best outcome I can get. Or you can say, I want you to run $5 to these 5 different audiences, and you can control it. Most of the time you're going to use campaign budget. You set a daily budget. Special ad categories aren't relevant to this. If you want to do any A/B testing, you can do it in here. You can also just create a separate campaign and just give it the same budget. But
you ever found any difference when it comes to budget, setting a time frame for the ad to run versus just letting it run forever until you stop it?
We pretty much exclusively run daily budgets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, when I say that, I mean, like, say we're going to run this ad for a week and give it a fixed time period, or continuously run it in perpetuity?
So there's two forms in Facebook. So there's daily budget and lifetime budget. So the only time we will run it, like we did a massive sale event for a client the other day, and so it's like a pretty strict 1 week you advertise for. With daily budgets, you can actually fluctuate above and below what you set your daily budget to be, whereas with a lifetime budget, which won't matter over a month, like it will balance out and you will spend the right amount of money in the month, give or take 5%. With a lifetime budget, you're going to spend it to the cent. So if you have to fit like a specific budget or a time frame, that's the only time that you would do it. That's step 1 of 3. This is how easy it is. Once you then get to here, so this is where you select from within those different options that it had on the when I was selecting the campaign type. I'm going to use instant forms here just because it's like the easiest way to probably demonstrate this. That's not my page, so I'll do it on here. So you're going to select instant forms. Say if you're doing a lead gen campaign, your conversion or your objective might be video views, it might be website traffic, it might be website leads. There's a heap of different ones. Don't touch this, but you can control your performance goal. You then go into ignore value rules. Catalog's not relevant for this, that's an e-commerce thing. You then have budget and schedule, so you set a start date. You can also set an end date, so I think that's what you're talking about. You can do a daily budget to an end date. I'd just do lifetime or daily budget in perpetuity. Advantage Plus, so we need to stop that. So what they basically do, Advantage Plus is kind of okay for the placements, but what they're trying to say with that is basically that your audience setup is creating more opportunities to improve performance with AI. It's basically Meta saying to you, if we deem it to be beneficial, can we break your rules? So if you go, I want 25 to 55, they'll go, yeah, that's cool, but heaps of 18-year-olds are responding, so we're going to run the ads to 18-year-olds now. You probably don't want that. E-commerce is a little bit different if you're running like website sales or something, because it's like if people are actually transacting, who cares who, what, when, where, like if their card details are going to your website, you're all good. But for something like a lead generation campaign like this, you have the element of quality of lead that's deeply important as well. And if you get a whole bunch of leads that are outside of that audience you're targeting, there's a pretty good chance the quality will take a hit too. You turn that off. They constantly move how you turn it off. So I'm going to need to try to figure this out. There will be a way. I'll show you some good examples of this as well, but further limit the reach of your ads. Here we go. That's how you turn Advantage Plus off. So it's actually still saying it's on, but I'm pretty sure I can fix it this way. So yeah. So that it's all they're obviously trying to. So let's say we're trying to talk to 27 to 55-year-olds. Use as a suggestion? No.
Oh, there it's just
Advantage Plus is now off. And so then you can go through, once you go into here, you can, this is your custom audiences. So we've got our lookalike audiences, we've got our website form submissions, we've got all of our pixel, like all of that sort of stuff in it. So I could retarget, say, my website visitors with this here. You set those audiences up in events. It's probably a little bit more technical. Once again, use as a suggestion? No. That in itself is kind of getting through like what a basic audience would look like. You can then go detailed targeting. You could search things like real estate, and you can start pulling up people who are interested in real estate. You can do different things like that, and once again, not as a suggestion. And so you'll start to build out an audience. This is too narrow because it's my website visitors plus people who are interested in real estate that are 27 to 57, like it's too confined. But that is the basics of how you do that. Placements, once again, they're not, I don't know what that is. Once they're not super important, I don't tend to find, but basically what you'd be able to do, I don't know why that's not letting me do it, but what you'd be able to do is just go through and see a list of like feed, stories, in-app, blah, 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 and you can tick the boxes and remove the boxes that you don't want. I don't really suggest doing it. I think that it's gonna, as long as it's advertised to your audience where they see your ad, it doesn't matter, and it's going to just optimize to be the one that's performing best for you anyway. Now when you're creating your actual ad in here, this is all just as simple as you would expect. This is an example of a conditional lead form that we've got set up. So as you go through this, depending on how you answer these questions, it slightly filters it. I think it has a version where you don't get requested to submit your information. If you are not a business owner, it will block you from submitting a thing. So you can do all sorts with these. They're really easy to create. You literally just go through, give it a title, create an intro, write your headline in, select your questions. It has some pre-filled ones. You can also do custom questions. These are all your sort of categories that are pre-filled, but you can add questions in here, and you can do multiple choice, short answer, and you can make those questions whatever you'd like. Anything like, do you own a home? Anything like that. You plug your privacy policy in, and then you just can customize this page here. So it's very easy, self-driving, not complicated at all. As you go to this bit here, you'll get given your setup creatives for the ads. So this is where you load your images and videos. I'll just take these ones here because they're here. I'll show you guys another AI thing. So with this one, you ideally want some sort of portrait version. So I don't know why we don't have one loaded in here that's equivalent to that, but I downloaded one earlier just in case I needed it, which is this one here. So you really want your ads to fit the space, if that makes sense. So this should be full. This one here obviously doesn't fit, right? So you'd replace it with something like this, so that they all line up perfectly and look good. You can then plug your copy in. So this is your primary text. Your headline here is like the headlines are quite important, we tend to find. So that's like a good opportunity to put your positioning statement or something that's really different about your product. It's the bold text down the bottom. And then description, sure, like you can do whatever you want with that. It's not really going to be seen on probably most of them. And control your call to action button. Now, we're going to get a whole bunch of new fun AI things that Meta's doing. We're going to skip and continue. And then this is where you've got to be really careful. So these are all AI optimizations that they make. So this is translating text. We don't want that to happen. Turn off. And then you've got add overlays. So it will start putting like... I'm not joking.
That Reels overlay gets me every time.
Yeah, so you don't want any of these, really ever. Animation, things like you just, there's no way that that's going to do your ad a service. So you just turn all of these off. You have to be careful, they hide them somewhere. they hide them below the page fold and all sorts, and then you're done. You now have an ad that you can publish. So I mentioned core time's about 15 minutes. That was probably just under that. Obviously, it's going to take you a little bit longer if you're doing creatives and writing really great copy and all those sorts of things, but I could publish this and start spending $25 a day on this ad now. So the actual core time it takes to do this stuff is not that hard. Where it becomes complicated is your messaging, your copy, your testing, your optimizing, your decision making, and the funnels and different things like that. But like I promised, now all of you can run an ad. I'm obviously not going to publish that. But yeah, that's probably all I had to go over.
James,
Yep.
how would you target 65 plus?
You can target 65 plus.
Or how would you? Because they're not necessarily on Facebook.
I would say they're probably the biggest audience on Facebook at the moment. Yeah. As a minimum, they're the fastest growing. I know that they're the fastest growing for a fact. You do have a huge segment on Facebook, which is like that sort of 45 to 65, which is like I think of my mum who just lives there. But the really alarming audience there is like my grandma, and they read on those platforms too. So if we ran a campaign for a client of ours, and we raised about I think it was 226 million for their fund, and the primary target audience for that was 65 plus retirees that had cash that wanted a return on investment for it, and we raised the entire. I lie. We picked up a couple of really good leads through LinkedIn. One guy had just sold a business for $110 million or something, and he gave them $10 million, so that was good. But the majority of it came through Facebook.
Would you say very high premium type property, high end, would go well that way, or would you do it differently?
Yeah, what I would change, the difference I would, and to be fair, I don't even know if this is something that I'd do differently. If anyone came and gave me a budget and was like, do whatever you want with it, this is the way that I'd run a campaign for pretty much anyone now, is I would put somewhere between 10 to 30% towards brand awareness, just because I know in 6 to 12 months they're going to be thanking me. I'd run the rest in middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and then I would just control the messaging to suit the target demographic. So you target them, so let's say it's 65 plus, you'd run it 65 plus, but you'd also just consider things like how does a 65-year-old want me to write my copy versus a 22-year-old, and you'd write your copy more aligned with that. So you're probably going to be more thorough, you're going to write more, you're going to use less salesy messaging in it, and you're going to make the whole process softer, would probably be the word that I would use. Whereas if I'm pushing property to an investor, I'm like 5.2% return, get it or don't. Like you're down the barrel with someone like that because you know they're buying based off numbers, and it's not so, Yeah, and then I'd go real schmoozy from a video perspective. If you're going 65 plus, I'd do all hero brand story videos. I'd shoot it professionally. I would do that sort of stuff. I think that market doesn't have the same appeal to phone shot content as a younger market does.
I wouldn't be the target market, but on elder families social medias, I've seen those hero type videos where it's a fucking Labrador, slow motion.
Yeah. Stock footage and yeah. That's exactly what I would do. Yeah.
I've seen it. It works.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would do.
Don't redeem the gift card.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is I would build as much trust as possible. So anything you can do, we've completed 110 homes, we've done this. Yeah, testimonials, all that sort of stuff. Another thing with testimonials as well is trying to get testimonials that match the person who will watch them. So if you've got a testimonial of someone that's 65 plus, don't show them a 25-year-old because it's not going to have the same impact.
I'll tell you right in the whole, you're right. I reckon the most maturing audience is the Facebook.
It's fastest growing.
Fastest growing. Because you look at my Grand, for example, she might have 50 friends, which means there's a fuckload of space for targeted ads, but she's not seeing a lot of posts.
Yeah, and they read it. They don't know what an ad is or isn't. If you look at I'm being serious. I'm being dead serious. If you look at if you ever look at someone who's like 18 scrolling a news feed, it's like magical. Like you can't even, like you don't know how they can interpret what they're seeing as fast as they can. Then look at an older, like they're scrolling.
As I've watched the evolution of, the old email jokes where the old people would send funny emails of jokes that are all weird, and now it's on Facebook.
My mum sends me reels.
Yeah.
Like it's moved. It's moved. Yeah, and it will continue to. LinkedIn is also a thing for the older audience if it's like a B2B related thing. But yeah, I would definitely use Facebook.
Just a hypothetical question. Say you're getting started with meta ads, you've got a limited budget, say $20 a day, you're targeting B2B, you are wanting to experiment with like A/B testing. Do you just start with a smaller number of...
With $20 a day, I wouldn't A/B test. I would load a few different ad variations in under one campaign, and I would let the campaign control spend.
Okay.
Because let's say you've got like 3 different things you're trying to test. You're now at $6.66 a day. It's just going to take you too long to get the impressions and the outcome you want. Whereas if you put those 3 ads under one campaign, maybe you try an audience or 2. When one starts working, it will just push all the budget there. So your total results you get will be a lot higher. Other thing is I would target Facebook page admins. So that's a behavior that you can target on Facebook. And if you want to target B2B, there isn't a better one.
Yeah, and would you mess around with lookalike audiences early on? Or
not with a limited budget. Nah. It's not going to do any harm, but you probably want to be up around maybe 30 to 40 a day before you'd start doing that, and you'd run a few different ad sets, and you'd probably control budget at an ad set level. So you might have like $10 per ad set, 3 ad sets live a day or something like that. Yeah. Ideally, it'd be a little bit more, maybe like 15. But yeah.
Cool. What is more efficient or effective? Boosting a meta reel or setting that reel up as a full campaign?
Full campaign. Yeah. Like noticeably. Yeah.
Is boosting appropriate?
Never. Yeah.
Unless you're just lazy.
Yeah. Well, you think like that didn't take that long. And like there's a thing I'll show you.
And the problem is now if you go and boost a reel off Instagram iOS, like if Apple puts their hand out and wants to take an insane amount, like
don't do it. So you can, I did the ad thing before. Sorry, let me just find where this is. Ad creative. I should have you can do this. Why is it not letting me use an existing post? There's an option here where you can tick use existing post. They just love to move things around all the time. Create ad, boost post.
Yeah.
Do it through here. And what it means if you do it through Ads Manager is it means you can control all of those. So those things that I selected at campaign and ad set level, you have control over. You can't control those when you're boosting posts.
You're pretty much just saying, here's $25, spend it responsibly.
But they don't spend it responsibly. Because they've got to do something with, like, every person that's advertising on Facebook wants to advertise to the people with the money that can buy their stuff. And so what do you do with all the other people? That's the problem that Meta's got. And the answer to that is boosting. Because you just don't have that control. So they can just run the ads where they aren't given the freedom to run them otherwise.
And I guess when you just boost it and kind of let it make its own wind up, you end up with 20,000 international followers from India that do nothing for business.
Yeah, or even if you have it restricted to New Zealand still, it's just not going to land where you want it to land. And like you've got quite a niche, unique product, like not everyone is your target customer, and because of that you need to be specific about the people you talk to. Yeah.
How do you go around the copy, figuring out the copy?
I have like a really simple framework that I like for copy. This is probably the easiest way to describe it. I would try your best to steer clear of AI, would be the first thing, just because so much of copywriting is AI now. And if you go through a feed, you can just like...
You can tell straight away.
And like logically you can, but I don't think people understand the subconscious damage that is being done to their advertising there, because like it's the same as if there's 10 ads that look the same and one ad that is noticeably worse but it looks different, your eye is going to go straight to the one that looks different. And even if you don't notice that is happening, and the same thing will start to happen with copy, especially, this, no one knows how to prompt ChatGPT to actually write decent copy anyway. So it's all real American. And so basically the framework I do is top line is I call out to my target audience. So like we had this campaign that I loved. It was, "Are you sick of getting rinsed?" It was our core messaging, and it was this idea of getting rinsed by your agency. And we've made this fun video. Actually, that might be a good one if we have time at the end to show you guys. I get splashed with water is sort of the thing. But top line, "Are you sick of getting rinsed?" Body, reaffirm your message with that. So like most business owners we meet with are tired of this, this, and this. Here's the solutions we provide to their problems, and then closing line is your call to action. So you reaffirm the call to action in your copy. So that's just book a free 30-minute marketing WOF, book a this, book a whatever it is. If you follow that copy framework and just toy around with what you do for those 3 segments, you'll be all good. I've done a heap of real fun stuff. Like we've got quite a big campaign going live on Friday in Christchurch, and the copy is just coming soon. That's all it is. And it's this big like teaser campaign for a big development launch that we've got. So there's times where I'll step out of that framework for like a reason, that if I'm not, I'm in that framework, and that's how I set them up.
Same with video?
Hook, retain, reward, yeah, pretty similar. So you have first 3 seconds, you need to capture people's attention. I need to show you guys this getting rinsed video, because it's a pretty good example of it. Hook, retain, reward. First 3 seconds you capture attention, you then manage that with them, like you build the story with them, and then you give them a reward at the end, and you try to get them to take action. That's the thing.
Just for you, out of curiosity, what's your highest, your most, or your best performing ad at the moment for digital symbol?
So we're rebranding at the moment. So outside of some video testimonial work that we've got, I've got everything off, and I'm just running Google search.
So rebranding, like digital symbol, name change?
Mostly just colours and an icon. We'll keep the name, and so with that, I'm just trying to. It's taking I thought it would be off for like 2 weeks, and then the Brett bit, and these things just never work like that. So all time, probably our best performing campaign was our no profit, no fees one from a profitability perspective. Second best behind that would have been our getting rinsed campaign. I feel like tonight's a real, I can't find anything I'm looking for night. Oh, yep, that's a lead generation one, but it will have the video in it, I'd guess. So here's a good example of what I was talking about before. So what I've run here is I've got a broad business owners audience, and then I've got a retargeting campaign which actually produced the majority of the leads. We paid more for these leads than we typically would. We typically sit around sort of $50 give or take, but the quality of them was a lot better. Here we go.
How many of the $50 leads would you convert?
We'd probably go 1 in 3 to a meeting, 1 in 3 to a close. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. But then
Does paying your marketing bill each month leave you feeling like you're getting rinsed? You wind up in another boardroom looking at numbers on a screen that don't match the numbers in your bank account. Every time you bring up your problems,
you guys get the gist. But that sort of stuff is quite fun to storyboard out and have a bit of fun with too.
The ball part was quite good too, where you handed the ball.
Yeah. That was pretty much just like the whole purpose of it was retaining attention through that middle piece, and so that's why we had like the transitions where like I hold the towel as I cut, like different things like that, just to try to keep people engaged. But yeah, cool. If you guys have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm not in an urgent rush to get out, but I'm conscious that it is about to turn 5:30, 5:28. So yeah.
One question, you touched on Meta obviously, but how about Google Ads? So that's the middle of the funnel, so you that separately.
Google Ads, Google Search I use as middle of funnel. Yeah. Google Performance Max is kind of a bit of a weird one where it covers sort of everything. Display would be very much top of funnel, and then Google has remarketing. Biggest difference with Google is obviously you have an auction-based system rather than you're buying impressions, so it's the only real one that operates like that, where you're saying I'll pay $3 for X click of X keyword, and then other people are going, no, I'll pay $4, no, I'll pay $5, until it gets to a point where it becomes uneconomical, which in some cases, like Westpac when I last checked, Westpac was paying $68 a click for the term mortgage. So in some cases there's no economical limit. It just depends on the keywords and things like that. Biggest thing
if you choose, you just focus on Meta?
Well, right now we're pretty much just doing Google search while we're rebranding. I like Google search for intent. It's good. The challenge. So the biggest thing with Google search that nobody talks about, this is like the I don't know why everyone talks about bid strategies and all this stuff, is your website conversion rate is so fucking important. You can't get your head around it, because that and retargeting are like so key for it. Because if you're going to pay $11 a click for a competitive keyword and your website converts at 1%, your cost per lead is now, it doesn't work. You're like $1,100 or something ridiculous like that. But if your website conversion rate is, or maybe 100, I don't know. But if your website conversion rate is 20%, all of a sudden those numbers start to make sense, and you can afford to spend more. And 20% sounds really unrealistic, but I have active Google search campaigns right now with a website conversion rate of over 20%. I know it can be done. You have to nail the keywords and the intent sort of piece, make sure the content matches on the website, but like nailing that piece is almost more important than your messaging in the ads. And then the other bit is, if you're going to pay $11 for a Google click, you need to then follow them up on Facebook, because even if you have a 20% conversion rate, you're still losing 4 out of 5 of those people that you're buying. But if you can follow them up on social, you have another crack at them, and you're paying $0.01 per impression over there rather than $11 a click over here. Yeah. So that was a crammed version of Google search, but that probably summarizes most of it.
Cool, amazing. I guess was one final thing to say is, when would be a bad time to get in touch with you and Digital Simple and explore looking at working together?
Yeah, whenever. I'm our salesperson at the moment.
So when would be a bad time?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, obviously there's a point, like, there's a minimum, right? That it's
I get what you're saying.
You know, like, and not necessarily budget specific, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that there would be, as a minimum, if someone called me and was like, hey, I want to do some advertising, and they didn't have the budget, I'd still give you a bit of an idea as to what to do. Like, I had a call with some guy the other day who's just started a furniture company, and I was like, don't give me money. Like, you need to be buying furniture and doing, like, might start putting some reels up on Instagram and do some things like that and get some customers, and then let's talk about it. So there's no time to talk to us. Sorry.
Sorry, as a previous furniture maker, don't do furniture.
Or don't do furniture. Yeah, maybe don't do furniture. Yeah.
Often do that with our invoices to each other, is like put it back into tables. I seen one the other day, it was 50 tables, and I was like, not doing that anymore. What would you say is the minimum of someone come to you? The minimum effective ad spend, or is it different?
Retainer and ad spend's probably about $3,000 a month. Okay, that's usually where we start. Yeah.
And that generates a decent amount. Well, obviously you're going to get some money back.
Yeah, it gets way more efficient as it gets bigger, because like at that ratio, it's probably about 60% fees at that ratio, just because we're so high touch. We just have no way to do it otherwise. But then once you get to like $10,000 a month, it's like probably 40% fees, 30% fees. And once you get past that, we've got clients where we'd be 10% fees, the rest goes to ad spend, but they're just spending $70,000 a month. Yeah. So it just depends on the situation. But
is there any discount on ad spend to an agency like yourself?
No.
So you're paying the real cost of the ad spend?
Yeah, no, there isn't.
With agencies to do that?
So they're actually kind of the opposite. They're pretty actively anti-agency, which I should maybe be more concerned about than I am. I think
you're literally selling that product for them because it's all you can sell.
We've spent $20 million on Facebook. Like, we've done $20 million worth of Facebook advertising, and we're their enemy. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense. But I think their big thing is they're trying. What they see is that agencies charge money, and they view it like we could get that full pie. I just don't think they understand that without the marketing expertise involved, the return on investment shit, and so there's no pie.
And then people will stop using it because they don't understand how to use it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make it so backwards.
Yeah.
It's like us goes as well. We've got mortgage advisors, bits and pieces, because people don't know how to present things themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. So, look, I don't think it'll ever happen. I think even if they do really roll out the AI thing, I think there'll still be an ability to get in there and manually override at any point. But they were talking all AI optimizations as early as mid-26. The challenge they'd probably run into more than anything is like a lot of other platforms like TikTok Reddit, Pinterest, all of their like LinkedIn, all of their advertising capabilities getting better real quick. So if they really ruined Meta, I think a lot of spend would go to other platforms. But we will see.
Do you think like electric cars, the AI thing for marketing, I reckon it will taper off if people don't want to be sold.
People don't want it. People don't want it.
No.
And like, you know, maybe in 20 years or whatever, but everyone just thinks we're moving faster than we are. Yeah. Drive combustion engines.
Amazing. Thank you,
Cool.
James. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Cheers,
feel free
guys.
to stick around. I'm in no mega super duper rush, so feel free to stick around, have a chat, get to know one another, ask some questions.
Cool.
See you at the next one.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Cool. First of the evening series. Haven't done this before.